At one time or another, practically every man has reason to appraise a business organization. He may be a university graduate about to start his career, a young man in search of a better job, an investor, a customer, or just a member of the community. In any case, there's always one thing about that business organization in which he's always interested: growth. It's not so much how big the company is at any particular time. What's important is how much it's grown in the past and how things look for future growth. Growth is a good index of a company's vigor, of the merit of its products, of its ability to serve the needs of other organizations and people themselves. Let's appraise the Burroughs organization in this way. In some 70 years, it has grown a great deal. Its facilities have been constantly on the increase. Today, it operates manufacturing plants in widely scattered cities on 3 continents, and a marketing system of many hundreds of company branch offices, and dealerships which enable it to offer effective service everywhere in the free world. Today, there are more Burroughs people than ever before. To the business, they have brought an ever-widening range of skills, many of them highly cultivated and specialized skills, reflecting the great expansion of the product line. The historic and still major Burroughs product, the mechanical accounting machine, is now complemented by many other products. Products employing the familiar mechanical works, and others the newer techniques of electromechanics, electronics, and magnetics. But despite its diverse manufacture, Burroughs is today, more than ever, a volume producer. In recent years, it has made big strides in the application of mass production methods to products characterized by complexity and preciseness of operation. In one product group, accounting machines, tens of thousands of units are manufactured and shipped from Burroughs plants every year, and are in use in business offices throughout the world. Yes, Burroughs has grown, but more important is the fact that growth has not stopped. On the contrary, Burroughs has embarked on a course of growth for the future, which will be as great, probably greater than anything that has gone before. But before we look ahead, let's turn backward for a moment to consider how all this began. It began with this, the world's first practical adding machine. William Seward Burroughs invested 10 years of his brief life in its development. It was placed on the market in the year 1886. For several difficult years, while the fate of the new machine was in doubt, this was the Burroughs organization, a little machine shop in the city of St. Louis. Mr. Burroughs had worked in a bank and well knew what prolonged mental computation took out of a man. Now, he had devised a machine which computed totals with cool and unchanging accuracy. He believed his machine had a big future among banks, that they would eventually buy as many as 8,000. There were then 8,000 banks in the country. Back in the 1880s, this was considered an estimate of majestic dimension. As it's turned out, the market developed a thirst for adding machines, which 70-odd years of volume production has not yet satisfied. Here is the youngest descendant of Mr. Burroughs' invention, the 10-key adding machine. The technique of fabrication and assembly has been perfected like the machine itself. Parts are joined together by skilled and practiced hands. Little mechanisms grow into bigger mechanisms with a smoothness which is the product of 100 refinements. Again and again, checks and inspections are made to detect errors before they become expensive to correct. Such efficiency is not for show. Competition makes it necessary, for the adding machine is now the product of an industry. The Burroughs machine must compete not only in quality but in price as well with a dozen others. Had Burroughs decided to devote all its energy to the refinement of the adding machine alone, it would have enjoyed a considerable measure of growth and success. For from the very beginning, the adding machine was of real service. But the way many people used it, bookkeepers especially, adding amounts, reading the tape, then transferring the totals to their bound ledger books, suggested an even more useful machine, a machine which would liberate the bookkeeper from the need of manually transferring the machine-produced totals, a machine which would print both entries and totals. In short, a bookkeeping machine. When this machine was devised, the old bound ledger, the sacred book of accounts, was dealt a mortal blow. The new era of bookkeeping on loose leaves was born. The ledger sheets were inserted directly in the wide carriage of the new bookkeeping machine. No need now for pen and ink. Entries and totals were all machine printed in their proper columns directly on the accounting record. At the turn of the century, this machine was regarded as a marvel of mechanics. And it got better. Soon it could subtract as well as add. An electric motor was mounted underneath to power the computing mechanism and shuttle the heavy carriage back and forth. And other machine types were created as well. Portable adding machines, for instance, machines for rapid computation called calculators, and accounting machines equipped with letter as well as number keys, called typewriter accounting machines. One of the powerful forces behind Burroughs' product development was the teeming growth of commerce and industry in the early years of this century, and the consequent violent increase in the volume and velocity of paperwork. Then with the income tax law of 1913, it became mandatory for all business organizations to keep accurate records. The first of our world wars took a large share of our office manpower and sharpened the need for the mechanization of paperwork. Then beginning in 1933, a series of laws was enacted which resulted in massive increases in the burdens of corporate accounting. Through the years, paperwork has followed a course of increasing volume and complexity. Consider payroll in this light, for instance. Not too long ago, it was fairly simple. Easily computed amounts of hard cash were distributed on payday. Now, it is a major job of computation, of accounting, of record keeping, and governmental reporting. The employee receives not cash, but a check, accompanied by a so-called stub, which records to the penny the checkered career of his pay from gross to net. Reporting to the government, city, state, and federal, has grown into a dense and enveloping fabric of computing and accounting. Even for the company of middling size, this will involve in a year's time many thousands of reports. Many thousands of hours of clerical time. It is a major corporate expense. Other factors too, higher rates of corporate taxation, rising material costs, rising wages and salaries, and keener competition have made it increasingly difficult for business to remain profitable. Under these mounting pressures, business is turned to the office and its paperwork operations in a program to boost overall efficiency. In its thinking, the business machine looms up larger than ever before. Like the production tool of the factory, it is an essential instrument of cost reduction. The development of such production tools for the office has been Burroughs' main business in the past. Yet, in recent years, Burroughs has developed or acquired a great many other product types, which have enabled it in its own name and through its divisions and subsidiaries to greatly enlarge the scope of its services. It now manufactures such established and familiar products as inked ribbons for typewriters and other business machines, carbon paper, bank checks and other business forms, check protectors and endorsers, accounting systems for small businesses. Then there are the newer products. Burroughs Ticketeer, for instance, which makes ticket selling ridiculously simple. New York to Chicago, yes, sir. The Chicago printing matrix is selected, inserted in the ticketeer, and there you are. It's as simple as that. A dozen tickets can be issued in the time it would take the clerk to prepare one by hand. This is the Burroughs Micro-Twin, designed to make it easier for business organizations to protect and store valuable documents, such as checks. It is a microfilming machine, an automatic high-speed camera, which photographs documents at the rate of 425 pictures a minute. Pictures about 1/1400th the size of the original documents. Pictures which are as readable as the originals when projected on the Micro-Twin reader. In recent years, Burroughs has reached out beyond its traditional bounds into the vast new technology of electronics in its continuing quest for better products. It has built the laboratories and organized the staffs of many hundreds of specialists to support a large-scale development program in this field. Because of the very newness of the technique, such a program is of long time range. The roots of a new product often go deep into the subsoil of research, to the evaluation of basic scientific findings and the clarification of ideas for employing these findings. The cycle of product creation often begins with tools as simple as a blackboard and a piece of chalk. Still at the basic research level, when ideas move into the realm of materials, the development program is characterized by the use of complex laboratory apparatus for processing, for analysis, testing, and measurement. Progress in big things waits on progress in the little. Much effort goes into the creation of superior components, into vacuum tubes, for instance, into magnetic cores, which have the exciting property of retaining information in the form of electrical pulses. A full-dress laboratory development program has been directed to the perfecting of these tiny metallic rings. Gradually, components are linked and assembled into larger product elements. Finally, fully operable prototypes of the new products are constructed and tested and refined. In its development program, Burroughs has not abandoned the old for the new. Instead, it has joined them, mechanics with electromechanics and electronics, gear and ratchet and spring, with solenoid and vacuum tube, the principles of physics and moving parts with the properties of electricity. In such a machine as the Sensitronic, the capacities of mechanics are fortified by those of electronics. Key figures are automatically recorded in the form of electrical charges on a magnetized tape on the ledger sheets themselves. The Sensitronic automatically reads these figures and computes with them. Such a machine promises to bring about big savings in one of the major data processing jobs of the business world, bank statement posting. Now in production is Sensomatic with Tape Punch, a combination accounting and coding machine which produces two kinds of records simultaneously. One record is in letters and numbers on conventional accounting forms. The other is automatically punched in paper tape in the code of tabulating card systems. The tape eliminates the need for manually punching cards, provides for the automatic transfer of information from standard accounting machinery to punched card equipment. In another development, Burroughs seeks to free data processing from its dependence on the human eye and human coordination in the recognition and conversion of ordinary printed information. It has designed a system whose accuracy and speed far surpass human powers of sight and coordination. There are two units. The first has the function of character recognition. It actually reads the numbers and letters on ordinary printed documents. A companion unit automatically converts the information into punched tabulating cards. In this case, the serial numbers on travelers' checks have been read and transferred automatically to punched cards. In the future, character recognition may well form the automatic link between information printed on ordinary documents and integrated systems for sorting, computation, printing, and other functions. A highly automatic Burroughs data processing system is based on the coding of information in the form of fluorescent spots. Under ultraviolet light, the radiations of the spots are employed to activate high-speed machinery. Immediate application of the technique is in the field of bank posting. The bank first encodes the account number and other information on customer checks. When the checks are returned to the bank for payment, they are rapidly sorted by account number in a machine equipped to read the fluorescent coding. The process culminates in the Bankomatic, which incorporates reading, coding, and control mechanisms which combine to make posting highly automatic. The operator simply enters the amount of each check as it appears in the viewing station. The old account balances are read automatically from a punched paper tape. New balances are computed and printed automatically on a journal and simultaneously punched in a new balance tape, which is used in posting the following day. This tape record, incorporating current balances of all accounts, permits the completely automatic preparation of customer statements. This system of posting and statement writing, employing fluorescent coding, promises to effect major advances in banking efficiency. Burroughs has made noteworthy contributions to the art of high-speed computation with the design and construction of electronic digital computers of large capacity. Computers for the solving of problems of massive size and complexity. They serve a real need. But just as insistent has been the need for smaller electronic computers, suitable for engineering, scientific, and commercial problems of medium size and complexity. Such a computer is Burroughs E101, compact, low cost, versatile, and very easy to operate. Its introduction marked a big step forward in making the electronic computer a common working tool of the laboratory, the workshop, and the office. Big organizations, organizations serving hundreds of thousands and even millions of people, are burdened with data processing jobs of gigantic proportions. Burroughs has developed a system which cuts that work down to size, a giant killer in data processing. This is one unit of that system, the G101, incorporating a combination of techniques, including electronics, and achieving extremely high reading and printing speeds. It reads coded information on punch tabulating cards and prints that information out at the rate of 500 characters a second on business documents. The G101 is used alone or as a unit in a Burroughs data processing system. A fact of great importance to Burroughs' growth is that techniques employed in its commercial products correspond in surprising degree to techniques employed in national defense. Thus, in recent years, in research and development and in production, Burroughs has been able to serve the armed forces of the United States in constantly increasing measure. Burroughs builds navigational instruments for aircraft, systems for controlling the fire of naval vessels, components for missiles, computers for anti-aircraft guns, and high-altitude bombing systems. It builds electronic computers which occupy an important station in the nation's great radar defense network known as SAGE. SAGE is an incredibly fast data processing system which not only gives early warning of the approach of hostile aircraft, but marshals and directs the flight of the fighter planes sent aloft to hunt them down. It's a long, long way from that first adding machine of 1886 to the machines of today, but the path is clearly marked by the swift and continuing evolution of products, by the refinement of mechanical computing and tabulating mechanisms, and in recent years, the adoption of the new techniques in the quest to broaden markets and strengthen the power to serve. Yes, product development is the major force behind company growth. But we do not forget that growth receives its initial impulse from the will and the courage to grow, from the vision, the ability, and the experience of men charged with major executive and policy-making responsibilities. We do not forget that growth receives its drive and sustenance from the talent and industry of administrators, supervisors, technicians, and production people throughout the organization. Yet, the product which is the fruit of that coordinated effort does not completely express Burroughs' service to its customers. These products must be intelligently and effectively applied to customers' operations. This calls for careful selection and thorough training of sales representatives in information processing methods and product application. It calls for the intensive training of servicemen in product maintenance and repair. Sales representatives are taught not to assume, but to determine through careful investigation the needs of the organizations they call on. Their proposals must reflect their close familiarity with the individual problem involved and their knowledge of business methods and practices. The recommendation for a product installation, if one is needed, is based on clearly demonstrated facts. Sales are made only by performing a genuine service. Service. The entire corporate effort centers on this working principle. What success Burroughs has enjoyed in the past is beholden to it. In it lies the way to future growth. If there is any single fact about the organization important for a man to know, it is that Burroughs continues to work at the job of increasing its power to serve.